industry convolutes itself by labeling itself as crypto or Web3. What do I mean by that? At the end of the day, yeah, you can look at people in the 90s when the internet was becoming a thing and people were building software like, oh, it's an internet company. It's an internet company. But the reality is the best way to describe a business is the industry that it's tackling. So I do think part of it is that we don't label, let's say, Uniswap, right? It's a financial services company. As much as we don't want to look at it that way, it's a fintech. It's a financial technology. It is upgrading and it is advancing today's financial services. And I think that the industry, for whatever reasons, I'm not going to say I definitely have an idea of who is to blame for these things, but I won't label it. But the industry does not embrace, just drop the whole crypto Web3 thing. Like, what industry are you investing in, right? Are you investing in fintech? Are you investing in developer tools? If we start that way, it then makes things a bit more, how can I put it, easier to understand, right? Because then you can start to think, okay, well, if it's a fintech, what kind of marketing challenges are they facing? If it's a developer tool, what kind of marketing challenges are they facing, right? Now, that I asked the question of the whole token network part and the blockchain part earlier, because I think understanding that is important, because there's a nuance that comes with that. So what do I mean? So let's say if you're a financial services company, there's certain marketing you need to. So let's say you're a B2C financial services company, Uniswap to an extent, actually. Part of their marketing challenges are you need to make sure you're creating a brand that people can trust, they can rely on. You need to make sure that your user or customer acquisition is sound and cost effective. You also, it is a token network of sorts, right? So you actually need, it's not that they're investors, but you need kind of an IR type of team, right? Mm-hmm. Akin to being a public company. So when you're a public company, your marketing team expands depending on how it's structured. Might be under investor relations, might be under marketing, right? Where it's a shareholder brand. And then you got to think about that too as part of your marketing strategy. But I think that we need to get better as an industry, just like breaking this down into things that make sense. And we don't do a good job of that. So to your point, I agree with you. There are marketing challenges. These are all marketing challenges to an extent. And I think that depending on the industry you're in, the customers you service, whether enterprise or consumer, and the makeup of your product, are you just a blockchain? Are you just a piece of infrastructure? Or is part of your product a token, a utility token? Or it doesn't have to be a utility token, where now you have a lot of retail people that are holding it. And whether you like it or not, they're not just your users, but in many ways they are
your investors.
They're your investors. They're your shareholders, right? So you got to market to them too.
We won't submit this to the government when they're considering their
legislation. Yeah, there we go. So, but the thing is, like people aren't just straightforward about that. We're trying to recreate the wheel in ways that just doesn't need to be recreated. So now, and I'm happy to go back and forth on that just to further clarify if you have any questions about that, Zach. But going to your second point now, 186, what do we do with our companies? Exactly what I just talked about. We don't try to overcomplicate it, and we just talk about it in the forum. This is where I think VCs are useful. They're important in the sense of the type of value and insight they can bring to a founder and operator that has not built an organization today. I don't care if it's a DAO or not. These are problems that have been solved before. We're solving them in different ways. There are people like me that have tried to solve them in the past, failed and succeeded at solving them. And we just need to make sure that people who are much smarter than me and will build much bigger companies than I ever have or ever could have dreamed of building, just get feedback and advice from people like me, right? Because why, overcomplicate it? So that's what we do. We have a knowledge base of 186 for our companies, where we just talk about, all right, well, what are your marketing challenges? Okay, who are your stakeholders? You have users, you have customers, you want to make sure you're building an employer brand. Again, you're a DAO, doesn't matter. Contributor brand, whatever we want to call it, it's the same things. Do people trust you? Do they think they can grow their careers with you? Do they think they're going to be working with smart people? That's employer brand, right? Regardless of whether you're centralized or not. So we need to do a better job of just taking those basics and applying them to a new paradigm of technology, right? last point I'll make, I don't, and I alluded to this earlier, to me, crypto Web3, and now everyone's talking about GPT-3, generative AI, even though it's been around for some time.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's the same thing. It's a new form of building technology. It's a new form of approaching problems. And, I think we should just treat them that way.